TikTok, a social media app specializing in short-form content, has recently gained national attention as it sparks concerns regarding national security. Since its release in 2018, the app has grown rapidly by providing users with tailored content via algorithms. The app is owned by ByteDance, a Chinese company, leading to concerns about how the app stores and utilizes American data. However, these concerns are not recent, with calls for nationwide bans beginning in 2020 with then-President Trump. Despite signing an executive order, the ban was subsequently halted in court as ByteDance sued. In December of 2022, TikTok confirmed that its employees had been improperly using its data to track the physical location of two Forbes journalists. This was in an effort to determine if any TikTok employees were leaking internal information to journalists after the company started to notice recent Forbes articles criticizing the app and exploring its close ties to the Chinese state. More recently, TikTok CEO Xiaozi Chu testified at a congressional hearing on TikTok, how Congress can safeguard American data privacy and protect children from online harms. To gain more insight into the potential security threat posed by TikTok, WUVA talked to UVA Professor Aynna Kokas. Professor Kokas is a fellow at the Miller Center and an expert on U.S.-China relations, cybersecurity, and the media industry. In her most recent book, Trafficking Data, How China is Winning the Battle for Digital Sovereignty, Kokas explored how China is utilizing apps, including TikTok, for its own political gain. Recently called for the government to ban TikTok in the United States. What are your thoughts on this action?
So there's currently a government device ban. That I think is a very common sense approach. And as a state employee, for example, there's also a discussion of a Virginia state device ban and a network ban for TikTok. Because of the weakness of state device and network security frameworks and the likelihood and the big potential impact of malware on state and federal government networks. The challenge becomes how and why and on what legal basis there would be a ban at a national level and what types of legal challenges there might be. So, for example, WeChat, when there was a Trump administration attempted ban of WeChat, a federal judge in the United States actually prevented that ban from moving forward on First Amendment grounds. And while WeChat and TikTok are different apps, they also share the fundamental characteristic of being a communications platform. So there's the First Amendment question. Then there's also the challenge of the fact that the Biden administration doesn't really have mechanisms for enforcement beyond basically asking tech companies to not distribute the app. And it's difficult to see how that would move forward because companies like Apple that do a majority of their, for example, manufacturing in China or have a huge Chinese market would be perhaps reluctant to remove TikTok from the App Store because of the potential geopolitical implications for that.
What actions and policies are being considered by UVA regarding TikTok specifically?
UVA has to respond to the Virginia House of Delegates and the Virginia state laws about banning TikTok and other apps from Virginia state networks and devices. Now this is really tricky because first of all, there needs to be an assessment of all of the different people at the university who use TikTok and how they use it. It's also tricky because there are really important needs that the university has for using TikTok. So for example, we have researchers, including myself, who use TikTok to assess it and to understand it. So you wouldn't want to stop research activity. There's also the challenge of the fact that most people who are current college students use TikTok. And so if you're trying to reach them for admissions purposes or to promote ideas or to promote different college services, TikTok is a really important and valuable tool.
What are some solutions that you would propose to the U.S. government on this issue if you had the opportunity?
So this is a really interesting dynamic. So I actually have testified in Congress at the Senate Finance Committee and the U.S. International Trade Commission on these issues. And what I proposed was enhanced national data security. Now, unfortunately, and better consumer rights for people in the United States. This is something that we see in Europe, in Korea, in the European Union, in Australia. It's not that it's impossible to do, it is more that there's a lack of political will to do that. A more realistic, granular approach that I propose in my book, Trafficking Data, How China is Winning the Battle for Digital Sovereignty, is this idea of making companies that are publicly traded share how and where they're sharing their user data on their annual reports, their financial reports, through the Securities and Exchange Commission. And so that's at least a way for consumers to be able to track and tell how data is being shared. And it's also a way for investors to assess how risky the practices are of these companies.
While the future of TikTok in the United States seems more uncertain than ever, the app continues to thrive. With more than 150 million active monthly users in the US, banning the app is a more daunting task than ever. I'm Catie Ratliff, WUVA.